Welcome, my political friends of the interwebs, and welcome to the Yankee Marshal. you're on deck, brother. Hey, listen, this is going to be a video reply to the Yankee Marshal's video about running third party, or voting third party, I'm sorry. Listen, everybody, this is important. I consider the Yankee Marshal a friend of mine. I've known him for a long time subscriber of his. He's a cool dude. He really is. So in no way, shape, or form should you interpret this video as me attacking him, because that's just not the case. This is just me busting his balls a little bit. It's ball busting time, baby. Listen, okay. Okay, here's the deal. Let me get my dime store glasses on real quick. So Yankee Marshal makes this video today, posted today, basically talking about how he's going to vote third party, and he had some arguments. Now listen, the Yankee Marshal has in the past admitted that he is a liberal, and although he's somewhat confused about being able to have his cake and eat it too, like most liberals who are gun owners, they do believe that those two go to hand in hand, and it's just disastrous. All right, listen, I just want to make I don't want to make this a real long video, so I'm going to try to make this pretty quick. I'm going to touch on some of the points that he made in his video. You can please check out his video, and if you're not subscribed to him, please do subscribe to him. But I want to say real quick that I am no third-party virgin. No, that's right. I bet you that sounded good. I did, when I was young and dumb, vote third party. When I was in my early 20s, in fact, here I'm gonna bare my soul here. I voted third party twice. As I hang my head in shame. Yes, I am one of the geniuses that voted for Ross Perot. Which, by the way, this is what we accomplished, us idealists back then in the day. By voting for Ross Perot, we ushered in the Clinton administration's 8 years of hell. That's right. And don't argue with me about how the Clinton administration was the greatest thing ever, because it brought us NAFTA. It brought us gun bans. It brought us Monica Gate. You know, it brought us, and by the way, and I'm very serious about this too, that was a national disgrace as far as I was concerned. But more importantly, things that happened outside of NAFTA that were disgraceful and harmful to the world was the way the Clinton administration handled North Korea. Basically, we ended up paying them oil and money and food to develop their nuclear program and create a bomb. That's exactly what we did. Because Madeleine Albright cut a deal with Kim Jong-il, or whatever the hell his name was. You know, he's dead now. Good riddance. She cut a deal with him, but had absolutely no verification processes put in place. I don't know, she must have slept through the Reagan administration, because I remember him clearly saying, trust but verify. Well, they trusted and didn't verify, and guess what? They took our oil, they took our food, they took our money, and they kept building the bomb, and then, booyah, that's exactly what they got. Of course, that didn't materialize until George W. was in office, but it was the fruits that were harvested from what the Madeleine Albright, the Clinton administration accomplished. So yes, my voting third party damaged this country and the world. Now, so don't I feel special by doing that? But I was young and dumb. You know, I've learned. See, that's the thing. A smart man learns from his mistakes. An even smarter man learns from the mistakes of others. So everybody watching this video, please be a smarter man and learn from my mistakes. Yeah, because you know what? Voting for Gary Johnson or any of the... Listen, oh, by the way, in Ohio, I think I counted 8 of them. 8 of them? 8 people running for president? Most of the people have no clue. You got the Green Party, you got all these. There's 8 people on the ballot in Ohio for president. So lots of people for the misinformed to vote for if they're doing a protest vote. Anyway, so listen, the Yankee Marshal, gotta love him. He starts his little rant out with, you know, basically if you want oil companies in charge, and that immediately kind of set me off, because listen, that is left-wing rhetoric. That is MSNBC rhetoric. Because, bottom line, if the oil companies were truly in charge, they'd be drilling in Anwar. They'd be drilling off the coast of Florida. I mean, seriously? Anybody that runs around saying that the oil companies run the show and ExxonMobil pulls the strings, nonsense. Absolute freaking nonsense. I mean, and, you know, come on, people. Open your eyes to some of this stuff. Another thing that drove me crazy, the Yankee Marshal talks about the Supreme Court, and he says, well, you know, even if Obama gets to appoint 2 justices to the bench, they're most likely going to be justices that Clinton had appointed. So it's a wash. Bullshit. You want to take the chance that this could become the Obama court? Are you serious? Are you serious? You want to take the chance that none of the senior citizens that are the conservatives, you want to take the chance that they're not going to wake up one day, grab their chest, and drop like a sack of potatoes? You really want to take... does anybody in their right mind really want Barack Obama appointing any more Supreme Court justices? Seriously? Because if he does get his way, and God help us, you can kiss the Second Amendment goodbye. It's gone. It is gone. Which brings me to another point I want to make real quick, and I'm not at all, in any way, shape, or form, accusing Yankee Marshal of doing this, but I have seen people make stupid-ass comments like this, and it really pisses me off. People have said, well, you know, it's gun bans work for me. I'm already stocked up. I'll make a ton of money. Wow. Wow. It's Americans like that make me want to puke. Here's the deal. I know for a fact that there are Americans, and I hate to use the even word to describe these people, who are actually cool with an assault weapons ban. They want to roll it back because they're ready. They've got a 2.5 car garage stacked to the rafters with 30-round magazines. They're going to make an arm and a leg on this. They're profiteers. That's all they are. They're profiteers. I mean, they can't really lose on it because everything does go up in price eventually anyway. So even if there doesn't turn out to be an assault weapons ban, which they're hoping there will be, and when I say assault weapons ban, I'm also talking about all the other nonsense that goes along with it, like magazine capacity limitations, and just, it's endless. So there are people who literally are going to attempt, and they will be successful if there is a ban, they're going to attempt to make money on this. So they're, you know, real patriots. That's what these dirtbags are, real patriots. And they're laughing all the way to the bank and, oh. Now, I'm not saying that Yankee Marshal is one of these people. I am not saying that. But I have seen in so many comments, in so many threads, I've heard people talk about how they were going to clean up if Obama gets reelected and then there's an assault weapons ban. By the way, Fred Hart has a really good video out about the assault weapon. You need to watch it. And I agree with him. All right, where are we at with Yankee Marshal here? Alrighty. Yeah, here's another thing he says about the assault weapons ban. He says we've had too much culture and too much history for there to even be a ban. What? 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 Where dude, you've got to be my age. Were you sleeping through the Clinton administration? Did you sleep through that crime bill? Did you sleep through that nonsense that they passed? We have a history, all right, and it's about to repeat itself because people like you are voting third party. Or worse than that, people that are just flat out voting for Obama. Well, either they're both the same, two peas in the same pot as far as I'm concerned. Okay, another thing, the other thing he brought up is more MSNBC rhetoric about how if Republicans get in charge, there's going to be this tort reform, and tort reform is evil because it's going to allow the corporations and the lawyers to screw all the little guys. That's just nonsense. That is just absolute nonsense. We need tort reform in this country. Common sense tort reform. Now, does that mean that you're going to let corporations off the hook for negligence? No, that's not what I'm talking about. But frivolous lawsuits cost all of us. And let me give you an example. And I'll use a real-life example. Across the street from my house, we have sidewalks in this neighborhood. And there was a winter, and an elderly lady lived across the street, and she paid a service to shovel her driveway and clear her sidewalk. Now, by law, the homeowner is responsible for clearing their sidewalks. Well, some dirtbag noticed, and I can only think that this is what he did, that she hadn't cleared hers off. Well, they just hadn't got to her house yet. And it was one of those deals, this was like 2 years ago when we had a shit ton of snow. Anyway, long story short, somebody slipped on her sidewalk, and she got sued. Okay, and she was like 78 years old. She got sued. Well, everybody in the neighborhood was like, yeah, you know, that's going nowhere. There's no way in hell she's going to lose this. That's just crazy. Well, guess what? Guess what? The guy got awarded something like $80,000. Seriously, $80,000. Now, I'm sure the people on the jury were like, the insurance company is going to be on the hook for it. It ain't like it's coming out of the old lady's pocketbook. Well, yes, it was. Not only her pocketbook, but mine and everybody else's. Because of that frivolous, it was a frivolous lawsuit. It was bullshit. That lawsuit cost all of us because listen, insurance premiums raise when that stuff happens. So we do need, I don't have the answers, but we do need to have common sense tort reform. And to say otherwise, it's just stupid. Well, and I don't mean to call you stupid, because that's not my intent. I'm just saying the idea is stupid. And it's a liberal talking point. The liberals try to scare everybody into this nonsense. You know, and it's like, you know what? You do the math, and it just goes to show that people, math can, listen, you talked about doing math. Math can be used, twisted in all directions. Speaking of which, you were talking about taxes and how the Republicans, you know, it's funny because you're voting third party, but well, you do admit to being a liberal, so I'm not going to bust your balls too bad about it, but you really ought to just vote for Obama. Well, I guess you are in a sense. You're having your cake and eating it too. You're voting for Obama while not voting for Obama. That's exactly what you're doing, and you know it. Or you should know it. God help you if you don't know it. Okay, anyway, you were saying that if the Republicans got in power, if the Republicans got into power, that it was going to shift the tax burden to the middle class. Well, listen, I've only experienced shifting of tax burdens to the middle class once in my life. I'm going to tell you a little story about that real quick. When I was a conductor for Amtrak, working for the man, working for the government actually, you know, a union guy, UTU guy. I, at one point, worked out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I ran from Albuquerque to La Junta, Colorado, or sometimes I ran from Albuquerque to Kingman, Arizona, or sometimes they called me to work the yard because I was an extra board guy. So I get out to New Mexico, and I loved it. I loved Albuquerque. I loved New Mexico. There was nothing about that place I didn't like. It was awesome. One of the happiest times of my life. Seriously. But what was interesting is Ohio has no tax on food. You go to a grocery store in Ohio, you pay absolutely no tax on food. Because the idea of taxing a basic necessity like food is obscene. It's the liberal wet dream, but it's obscene. Well, I get to New Mexico, and my first trip to the grocery store, I noticed that there was a tax on food. Because I remember I got my receipt. I'm like, what the F word? A few times. And I couldn't believe it. I said, you got to be kidding. I don't remember now what the tax was, but it wasn't insignificant. So I bitched about that for about a week to everybody who would listen, as you can imagine. And I worked with this guy named John Armijo. And John Armijo was a really, really super cool dude. And John says to me, he says, listen, and by the way, John was of Mexican heritage, although he was born and raised in the United States. Really, really great guy. Helped me out a lot because I had to learn a little Spanish just to do my damn job. Barletos, por favor? Sí, gracias. Yeah, I knew no Spanish when I went out there. By the time I was, well, anyway. John Armijo says to me one day, because I'm bitching and moaning about the tax on food, he says, listen, there are so many illegals in New Mexico that are using the basic necessity. They're using the water, they're using the schools, they're using the hospitals, they're using all these services and they're not paying for any of it. He said the only way we can get them to pay for any of their share is to tax things that they can't get around, like food. Made sense to me, but the evil bottom line is that shifted the tax burden of clearly the United States being unwilling, and by the way, Bill Clinton was president at the time, and there was a Democratic governor Bill Richardson, was unwilling to do their job. They weren't protecting the border even back then. They weren't enforcing U.S. immigration law at all, and therefore the middle class had to pay for it. Yeah, I bet you never thought of that, did you? So yes, Yankee Marshal, I have experienced the shifting of the tax burden to the middle class, but it wasn't from the Republicans. No. It was from the Democrats. That's right. A democratically controlled state basically raising revenue by taxing food. There you have it. Now the rich could afford that. That was no big deal to them. The poor people were using food stamps. That was no deal to them. There was me making my, I don't remember. I made good money when I was a conductor for Amtrak. I want to say 27, 28 bucks an hour. Back then. A lot of money. But there I was at the grocery store paying taxes to cover the hind ends of all the illegals. Where am I at time-wise? Oh, way the hell over. So much for a quick... Hey, listen, Yankee, you're a good guy. You know I like you. And I hope you don't mind this video. And for those of you who are watching this, please go subscribe to Yankee. He's a good guy, although somewhat confused. At least politically confused. And I will do a video on wanting to have their cake and eat it too, because I am amused and disturbed at the same time by all these liberal gun owners. It's like an oxymoron. In fact, I got to do a whole video on it. It's just driving me crazy. All right, that's all I got for you. Everybody take care and have a good one. See ya.